My name is Malika Harris, and I'm the multiple perspective taker slash connector.
My name is Guadalupe Perez, and I am the illustrator.
My name is Sierra Boseman. I am the moderator.
My name is Kiara Trice, and I'm the summarizer.
And this is the Songbirds.
Songbirds.
We are.
Okay, now on to the book we are reading is Song of Solomon, by Toni Morrison. So we read chapters 1 and 2. So the summarizer, Kiara Trice will.
Okay, from the start. The Song of Solomon starts off on the top of Mercy Hospital where a man named Mr. Robert Smith, an insurance agent, is about to commit suicide by jumping off of the building. Below him, people watch as he has an audience, but the audience is an African-American pregnant woman and her children, one by the name of Guitar. As time goes on, Smith's feet seem to slip, and in that moment, the audience believes the pregnant lady has gone into labor. Instead, she delivers the next day, and she becomes the first African-American to be treated at Mercy Hospital. The book then reminisces from 4 years ago and introduces the Dead family. The father, Macon Dead Sr., is a critical person, and he is not the nicest person. The audience also learns his wife, Ruth Dead, still breastfeeds their 4-year-old son, Macon Dead Jr., who is later nicknamed Milkman. Macon Sr. does know his son's nickname, but he is oblivious as to how he acquired it, has not seen him since birth. He does not take a liking to his wife, and he works long hours at work. We hear the story of how the Deads all got their names by a drunken Yankee, and the scene is now in the car, which onlookers refer to as the Dead's hearse. In the car, Milkman had an accident on Lena, his sister, and ruins her dress. Milkman is now 12 and meets Guitar and notices his father can't read nor write.
Nice summary, Kiara Trice.
Thanks, Sierra.
Now on to me, the moderator. As the moderator, my role is to give background information on the author as well as the book and keep the discussion going. Okay, background information. Born on February 18, 1931 in Lorain, Ohio, Toni Morrison is a Nobel Peace Prize and Pulitzer Prize winner with 3 well-known novels, which are The Blue Eye, Song of Solomon, and The Beloved. She started her journey at Howard University, and as time progressed, she pursued an interest in literature. Now on to the illustrator.
Okay, I was the illustrator.
And this is my picture.
In the picture that I drew, the Dead family takes a drive to the On-Road Beach community in their shiny new green Packard. Here, Macon Jr. plans to build summer houses for wealthy African Americans. They slowly cruise down the streets as some people look at the car with a bit of jealousy and amusement. Macon never goes over 20 miles per hour, and his engine never fails. He never stays in first gear for a block or two to give pedestrians a thrill. His car is the best of the best and has no glitches. By the looks of it, Macon takes pride in his car and has no shame in showing it off.
Great drawing.
Thank you.
On to the multiple perspective person.
Okay, so in the story, Song of Solomon, many nicknames are given by extremely racist qualities. For example, Mercy Hospital was given the name No Mercy Hospital because it does not help black people since there is such an early time period. And later in the chapter, Mercy Hospital treats their first black person, Ruth Dead or Deed?
I think it's dead,
Okay.
but it could be dead.
Is it Deed?
I think it's dead though.
Okay, Dead. She was the first patient only because she was in labor during the time Mr. Smith jumped off the roof. And this situation reminds me of Thomas Eric Duncan, the first patient diagnosed with Ebola in the United States. Like, Ruth Thomas happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. In both cases also brought a lot of unwanted attention and hating and slurring. There was also a street nicknamed not Doctor Street. This is because there was a black physician, Dr. Foster. Both practiced and lived there. Of course, back then, whites and some blacks didn't believe a black man was eligible to be qualified as a physician. Many didn't approve, so they named the street by him. And I had a question for you guys. Can you think of a better nickname than not Dr. Street?
Is it still in the same aspect of
Doctor.
like blacks not being can't be physicians? Like they still hate blacks. Her question was, can you think of a better name than not Dr. Street?
I find it cruel either way it goes. But, I don't even know because I would never think of something like that. Like,
It's so wrong.
No.
I don't know. What was your answer?
Oh, that's why I asked you. I didn't know.
Do you?
I want to say not Dr. Street because that's not even grammatical. That's like a grammatical error, and it's just gonna prove whoever made it obviously shouldn't have been calling this doctor insufficient. They should be calling themselves insufficient because that's not right. Say
Great
So you're
point.
saying it's grammatically incorrect in the first
Yeah.
place. So whoever approved it is also grammatically challenged. Also.
Nice
maybe
point.
non-Doctor Street, on Dr. Street or something. Not.
Undoctor is not. Anyway.
I would change it to something
Well, I guess
positive,
it can be good.
as in Doctor Street. I would change it to something positive. Okay.
Like possible Dr. Street.
PP Street. Possible. No, PD.
PP
The
Street.
PD. Possible Dr. Street.
Possible Doctor Street. Great. Okay.
PDS.
Now on for the questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Early in chapter 1, the author talks about these red rose petals scattered about the ground and how people were scrambling to save them. They were even mentioned in chapter 2. Why are these rose petals so important to the author, or is it even important at all?
I believe they are important because as soon as Mr. Smith jumps off of the roof, the roses fall. Somebody goes into labor. Like it's a symbol for something.
Nice point.
I think it's,
Okay.
Emily, look back.
okay. I think it symbolizes like light or something, like hope, because Lena, what's her name, Lena? Lena. And Corinthians have like something going on, and they're not able to love each other because the parents don't approve it. So I think the rose petals come about when there's like hope and they're trying to bring light into the situation.
I thought it was something.
Because they can't love each other.
Like love.
Like that.
Like love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were talking about a whole lot of weird relationships in there. Like they were talking about how Milkman loved his cousin.
Yeah, you can't love family members sexually.
But I don't know if they did that back then. I don't know.
There's what I'm saying, like it was way different back then, so maybe it
Says
was
they can't have babies.
Yeah, that's right.
incest.
Anyways,
Yeah,
to add, when you
Oh.
said it was-
Malika?
when you had someone had said red rose petals had fell once the mister had jumped off the roof.
Yes.
So maybe it symbolizes blood because I'm sure that had to hurt jumping off a hospital roof.
Good.
Probably. Or it symbolizes life after death because, sometimes they say as soon as a person dies, a baby is born.
That is true.
So maybe life after death.
What do you
And
think,
then
Sierra?
that's when she had the birth.
Rebirth. Is it called rebirth?
Yeah. Or
Something.
resurrection.
Yeah.
I agree with all three of you. I agree with because I know when I was brought up that when you go to church and you wear black, it's death, but it's red, so it's life. So, yeah, I agree with Kiera. And then Lupe said something similar as far as life after death, or like life period. And then Malika said symbolizing blood because the lawyer,
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith
He's in
fell off the he fell off the roof
He
of the
slipped.
house. He slipped
It wasn't on purpose.
on the roof.
Maybe at that time it wasn't on purpose, but I think he probably planned to do it.
But it was
He
it
came
was
back
snow
alive.
out. It was snow.
He came back online.
And what chapter?
It said he had.
In the book.
Never mind. I guess I'm wrong.
Okay. Next question. After reading chapters 1 and 2, what can you infer about the relationship between whites and blacks?
I say it was still very much segregated. Because what time period was this book written in exactly?
No, on page 33,
33?
Page 33.
it said in 1936.
Okay, 1936 is still a racist period, actually.
Like, so racism was still going on.
Yeah, so
Like the hospitals were still.
it's
Separate, like white hospitals, black hospitals.
yeah, it's still very segregated because no laws have been put into place, no amendments have yet to be put into place to prevent all of the racial things that happen. So people still have their thoughts in mind that we should be separated instead of put together because of the history behind it. So it's still very segregated. They still have hospitals where only white people can get treated, and the names of some of the people are racist and racial, and it wouldn't be allowed today.
Yeah, and they were talking about a historical moment when Ruth became their first patient. So obviously they're still very segregated, and then they still have problems with each other because a whole lot of people didn't like her being at the hospital. And also, I would like to add as the multiple perspectives person about how some places are still kind of like that today. How, like what Kiera said.
Is it called sundown cities? Like you shouldn't be caught there after the sun goes down. After that.
Oh yeah, in our previous book. Maybe that was, yeah, it was, I think it was sundown.
Yeah.
Anyway, our teacher, Miss Helms, she was talking about how she went to Idaho and she went to Wendy's and she was like the only black person. She walked into the Wendy's and they all looked at her full of hate, and it was near this time. So
It was like less than a month ago.
I have another example.
Oh,
It's on page 33,
okay.
and it's talking about like blacks versus white.
What chapter?
To
I mean,
What page?
What
What paragraph?
paragraph.
page 33. It's towards the bottom where she quoted it. It says, "There's a beach community out there, Lena. Your father wants to look at it." Ruth reasserted herself into the conversation. "What for? Those are white people's houses," said Lena. So I guess she's like, she still has hate for them. Like, we don't belong down there.
We don't
She
belong
feels-
down there because they don't
yeah.
like us.
She feels inferior to them because they're rich.
and they feel comfortable where they're from with their own skin colors.
My opinion on what I inferred from chapters 1 and 2 between relationships is where that within those chapters we learned that most of the characters are indeed African Americans, but there's an oppressive white world that exists just outside the book, outside the world in the book. White people mentioned in the Song of Solomon usually are a source or indication of harm, like of harm for blacks.
And hatred.
Yes, harm and hatred. I would say that. But I say harmful because just like Lupe read on page 33, it's like Lena, it was Lena, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was saying, oh, let's not go down there, it's where white people live. And like she's inferior or either scared of going down there for some reason, which she should not be.
Well, this is not today's world, so rules are not put in place back then. And they could have done anything to anybody, like, kind of gone off of Malik on multiple perspectives. Even today, sometimes when crimes are committed and it's against, like, two different ethnic groups, there's, like, no punishment or anything. And if you think about it, back then, there's no punishment either. It was even worse. Yeah, Trayvon Martin case, Michael Brown, all of those people.
So what y'all saying, it still exists today, it's just,
It still exists today. It's low-key.
yeah.
They
It
don't
seems
want
like it's coming back though.
Yeah.
Really quick and soon.
Especially the KKK.
Yeah.
Yes, you hear about that on the news? Like they're planning something.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back
And
on
white
topic.
supremacists.
Mhm.
Last question, but we're still discussing. After Milkman's visit to Palate's house, which is Macon's sister, for the first time, what effect does it seem to have on him?
Who visited her?
Milkman visited.
Macon's son visited Macon's sister.
Palato. I don't know how to say it.
Palate.
Palato.
Legal.
This is
Chapter
chapter
two.
Two.
Oh, we can
Actually,
check
let's
too.
go to the book. What page is chapter 2 start on? Anybody? It starts on like 15. I don't remember.
Page 30.
Third
That's
chapter
chapter
3.
It's on page 30.
And it was
Okay.
okay.
Actually, I feel like he was kind of nervous to go there in the first place because, as we read in the book, we know Macon does not like Palato or Pilato. So he's probably going behind his father's back and going to go
His
see
father's
her,
wishes. He's being a disobedient child.
who wants to know his auntie.
Right.
That's
like
a
he
crime.
wants to know his family. But obviously Palate or Palato did something that Macon.
Then like, or because Macon is a critical person and he criticizes everybody, he's not the nicest person, and everybody's afraid of him.
True. So it can go
So-
either way.
Yeah.
Malika, what's your thoughts on why Milkman, like how did he feel when he saw his auntie and visited his auntie? Let's take us through that.
I believe Milkman.
Was he
I
a
guess-
curious child? Could you say he was curious?
Yeah.
Okay.
He asked a lot of questions. He's very curious.
Okay.
He was probably shocked at seeing her, his auntie.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be with Kiara.
Yeah, he went behind his father's back, and I feel like, I mean, relating to real life, if you want to know somebody and your family has disagreements about it, if I want to know them, I'm probably going to know them. I'm going to go find them. He has a cousin that he probably knew he never had.
True. Her name is
Yeah.
Haggard?
Hager or he girl. Let me tell you, when Milkman saw his cousin, even before he saw his cousin, he was like in love with her.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knew that was his cousin though. At that moment, but if he did know, I think he still like her. But
He has a strong love for her, like
strong, he don't
like
even know her.
not for a family, like
could tell
not
he's
love
weird.
for a family member, love for like somebody
A
that,
relationship.
yeah, like a relationship.
And he's 12, by the way.
Mm.
That's disgusting.
At this point,
Right. It just
He's
jumped
12.
to 12. Oh, why did do that? Okay. So, within the chapter 2, Milkman began to get acquainted with guitar, plate, and Hegel. Fuego. So, what do you guys think will happen in the future between all three of them? Do you think Milkman will obey his father's wishes and stay away from Plate's house?
Definitely not. He's already found them. He already went on a quest. Why would I
Yeah,
do something and then waste my time?
And he really seems like he liked his time there, to spend his time there.
And his cousin. And I hope that it develop into a relationship. Like, they need to become cousins, not...
He's too curious. He likes
Yeah.
wandering off by himself.
Mm-hmm.
They need to become cousins, not boyfriend and girlfriend.
So you think he needs direction?
Yes.
He's disciplined.
He's only 12.
He needs to his mom. His mom need to help him.
I mean, wasn't he breastfed? So like,
So, like, 7 or
4.
like
old age.
Well, they
Yeah.
didn't really identify what we're like.
But when I read it, it was like she was still breastfeeding him. He was 4. It could have went on further.
that's probably a factor of why he's being so curious now.
Because
But,
his mom treated him like a baby, obviously,
right.
by breastfeeding him all the time.
Mm-hmm. True.
Which is kind of weird to me. Like, that she said was like she enjoyed it.
I know. She said that's her recreation time.
Why
Yeah,
do you
somebody interrupted her?
Is that not her?
Yeah, that was on page
It's
13,
supposed to.
where she was
Page
breastfeeding.
13.
Yeah.
She did it because her.
It says he was too young to be dazzled by her nipples, but he was old enough to be bored by the flat taste of mother's milk. So he came reluctantly as to a chore, and he laid his head at least once each day of his life in his mother's arms and tried to pull the thin, faintly sweet milk from her flesh without hurting her with his teeth. So he had teeth.
He was
Still
4.
breastfeeding.
He was 4. I hope he had teeth.
Oh my god, no.
But I guess it kind of sounds like he was a little older though, because he was like, he walked.
Reluctantly, like,
And he-
I gotta go.
Yeah, like he
Like,
didn't want
so
to do
he
it.
seemed like an
milk.
age with an attitude. Or
So
something.
maybe his dad didn't pay attention to the mom or whatever, and
His-
you know.
Was
His dad was oblivious to the fact that was going on. And,
I
you
feel like
know,
he was in their life.
Macon was always at work, and he didn't
Mhm.
like his wife. So that gives him an excuse not to be around them 24/7.
And I think that's another big factor of why he's acting like this. About why Milkman is acting. And I want to know Milkman's real name. What's his real name?
Macon Jr.?
Is it Macon Jr.?
Yep.
Sad. But any further, what do you think?
Macon Jr. is the father.
Macon Sr. is the father.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah.
So it's senior,
Oh,
junior, junior.
Oh, the
Oh.
first, the second, and third.
Third.
Yeah.
So he's probably
Junior's
making
the
third. Macon Sr. is probably his grandfather, and Macon Jr. is his father. Probably. Because it says 3 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So after reading chapters 1 and 2, do you think the book is interesting, Kiara?
Yes, I do. I do.
It uses a lot of words that we would use today.
It seems adult.
Very adultish.
Yeah, and I like it because it keeps going through topics that we don't really think about, like
keeps you interested.
Mm-hmm.
well, the boy's not old, but he's too old to be being breastfed, and then he's talking about being in love with his cousin. Like, Milkman, something's not right there with him.
Something wrong with the milk type.
Psychologically,
Yeah.
something's not right.
But and I think it's because of the breastfeeding.
I think it's
Mm,
because
baby.
his father's never around, and he's a boy. He needs some male figure in his life. He never met his auntie. He probably didn't even know that was his cousin at first.
Right. So that's
He
why.
was shocked when he saw her.
Yeah, so like, well, if that really happens to somebody, it'll make sense. Why? Because if you withhold secrets from somebody, you withhold family members and stuff like that, you'll never know who they are until you're introduced to them.
Yeah. And that will put a damper into their relationship. So,
Yes, because now they know they're cousins now, so I hope he crushes that crush. I hope he crushes that thought. I hope.
Okay, so this wraps up chapters 1 and 2 of Song of
Solomon.
Solomon.
This has been the Songbirds. I am Sierra Boson, the moderator.
I am Guadalupe Perez, the illustrator.
Malika Harris, the multiple perspective taker / connector.
And Kiera tries to summarize it.
And this
Has
was
been
the
episode 1 of a songbird.
Thank you.
Woo, Songbirds.